the very first Sonic movie was a pleasant surprise for everybody, especially because of where it started. That movie took the character Sonic and placed him in the real world, giving him a fish out of water scenario and having an American treasure in Jim Carrey play his antagonist in Dr. Robotnik. There was plenty of time for Jim Carreyisms throughout that movie. You splash in some fun action and it results in an enormous success. The introduction of Ben Schwartz as Sonic was great. He fits that voice but also provides a different version of the character that we know. In comes in the second movie where they introduce Sonic's best pal Tails, and they establish Idris Elba as a funny, clueless Knuckles. This movie pins them both against each other because of Dr. Robotnik, of course, with more Carreyisms and more action and more fun, leading to them finding the Chaos Crystals and teaming up together against a giant Eggman robot, with the end credit scenes of that movie teasing Shadow. But before that, we have a surprisingly fun and kinda okay Knuckles series, providing even more depth to the Knuckles character. Ahora sí, leading us to the third movie. And I thought this movie did a great job. It's fun, there's a ton of fanfare, and they managed to make a movie for everybody. Not that the other movies aren't, but because of what this movie needed, it needed a bit more Sonic lore to it. Because of the introduction of Shadow, they made it consumable for everybody. People who have no clue what's going on can understand it. Fans of Sonic are probably very excited because of all the fanfare, and I mean, it's also their main audience is little kids, which from what I could tell, they loved it as well. I think they hit a home run with casting Keanu Reeves as Shadow. It's almost too perfect. It sounds like a fan casting, and I mean, he's fantastic as Shadow. He hits the broody, moody emo-ness, and he also hits the tender, loving moments as well. They also gave us a double dose of Carrey this time around, which I thought it got so close to being too much. Yes, he's a national treasure. I love him very much. Even though he's Canadian, that doesn't matter. He's still an American treasure. He's a worldwide treasure. It got very, very close for him to be extra and too much and annoying. He wasn't. Again, he wasn't. But if we're going to show an example of what the max Jim Carreyism is probably this. And I'm not saying that he's super extra. Like, probably The Mask is the most Jim Carreyism. But as much as the movie focused on the Double Trouble Jim Carrey, that was too much. Because what a lot of properties do is that they cast so-and-so as so-and-so, but that so-and-so isn't the main character of the adaptation. But because we cast so-and-so, we have to use so-and-so to do so-and-so stuff. So it becomes the so-and-so movie instead of the property movie. And that's what I mean. This movie got very close to becoming the Jim Carrey movie, and it didn't. It reeled it in just before it crossed that line. For me personally, maybe most people doesn't feel like that way, and I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan. I love him as a person, as an actor. He's just a treasure. I adore him. But I did feel like that. Okay, I was like, ooh, we're getting close. We're getting close to almost annoying territory. He wasn't, but yes, he was great. He provided a ton of fun. I loved him. The movie also has some Dragon Ball Z level putazos, which I do believe Sonic does take inspiration from Dragon Ball Z. There's just a lot of similarities there. The 7 crystals, the 7 Dragon Balls, Sonic goes Super Saiyan, Goku goes Super Saiyan. And I'm not even a Dragon Ball Z fan. I can see the similarities there. The similarities between Goku and Vegeta and Sonic and Shadow, they're like polar opposites of each other, but at the same time share similarities that can bring them together. There's a lot of similarities there, but they did a very good job in the action of the movie. It's very fun. It's very over the top. It makes sense, which is the most important thing when it comes to these adaptations. During the second act, the movie just takes a Assassin's Creed eagle dive straight down because they feel the need to have Tom and Maddie come and, help out the team doing some sneaking around. And it's just like, to me, all the non-evil human stuff really drags the series down for me. I felt the same way with the Knuckles series. They felt the need to introduce a human, which was dragging the series down. It needed more Knuckles and less, what's his face? Because they need some filler. It just really felt like filler. It really felt like a step to get to the last act, but I just don't think that we need Tom and Maddie moving forward. Like, the only human people I would like to see is either a different bad guy that they want to introduce or Robotnik. That's it. Other than that, it should be a bunch of other CGI characters fighting CGI characters, or you can fight humans, but I don't want to see any more humans impacting the story if they're not bad guys. I don't want to see Tommy and Maddie anymore, basically, and I don't want them to find a kid and they're dragging a kid around. I don't want to see that shit moving forward either. I think we have to retire Tom and Maddie, which, if you didn't see the third movie, we got pretty close to doing that here. But yeah, moving forward, I think yes, duel with them too. We don't need them moving forward. And before you know it, the series has become a trilogy, and this might be the best video game adaptation trilogy ever. That is actually not saying a whole lot because of the competition it's had. But nevertheless, this Sonic movie series has proven to be a great one. This series is so good, it retired Jim Carrey and then it brought him back out because he only wants to play fun parts, knighting this series as something fun by the god of comedy himself. I do wish I could actually say with confidence, because I stand on my little soapbox and scream this to the heavens every time I review some sort of video game adaptation of anything. I really wish I can use this series as an example and say, this is how you do video game adaptations. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that this is bad. But my skeptical ass feels like Paramount Pictures actually just stumbled upon this greatness. Because Sonic has had so many adventures in the past, each one of these movies could be an adventure in and of itself. Because he's had so many adventures, it makes sense. This Sonic goes on adventures, he's kind of meta because he grew up with pop culture, he breaks the fourth wall, and you can buy this version of the character of Sonic because they've established like that. And mostly because the Sonic games are standalones for the most part. Yes, some of them have sequels, but he just goes on to adventures and Sonic is Sonic. It's not like adapting The Last of Us. The Last of Us is a very concise story. There's a whole world that if you want to adapt that, you can't really break the construct by those video games. If you go anywhere out that box, you're going to screw it up. That's why I'm so scared about the second season, but we'll see that when we get there. But with Sonic, the box is so big, you can even introduce new things that it won't affect the overall experience of Sonic because whatever Sonic is doing is believable. All these things that they have him doing is still within the gigantic range that Sonic has. That's why I really don't have much faith in Paramount that they were well aware of this and they were like, well, Sonic doesn't do that. I don't trust movie studios to put in the work because they really haven't in the past. I think it was out of sheer luck that they were going to do what they wanted to do and just provide a fun adventure with Sonic, and that's what they did. But it was a success because the Sonic universe allows them to do that. Hopefully all this makes any sense. And I'm not trying to completely discredit them because they also did a good job in picking some story elements that will work for different movies. Like Shadow's whole backstory, for example. The very first time the announcement trailer dropped, I had never really seen the internet come together to solve a gigantic problem before. Yeah, we've seen catfish stuff where a little town or whatever helps to investigate whatever. Yeah, the internet has done some good things. But for the entirety of the internet to band together to make change in the world, I've never seen that before. Only once. And that was with the reveal of Ugly Sonic. Y'all remember this? This was the biggest what in the holy is going on? And as one, we united and make that change. Paramount was so quick to delay this movie to make changes. I say changes because I have a theory about this, what I'll get into in a second. Because my biggest question right now was, did this change actually influence the movie moving forward? Did this change impact more of the movie? Did the delay to fix provide them time to sit down and look at their storyboard and review where else could this series as a whole go? That might have been the best thing to ever happen to the series. That fix, that delay, that change. Because in the direction they showed us that they were going was a terrible one. It could be the exact same story, but if Sonic looked like that, the Sonic series is a movie. And that's it. I've been using air quotes because I actually have a theory regarding Ugly Sonic. And I've had this stance from the beginning. I believe Ugly Sonic was a marketing tactic because he is so bad and so terrible, he couldn't possibly be what the movie was actually going to look like. I refuse to believe that. It could be the worst movie studio of all time. You cannot, with confidence, put this Sonic out and be like, this is what Sonic is going to look like. There's no way. I just refuse to believe it. There is no way in the world that would have happened. So I believe having Ugly Sonic is going to draw even more attention to this movie because now the entire world wants to know what Sonic actually looks like. I think that they cut the same trailer with Ugly Sonic. The delay was their original release date anyway. That is my theory regarding Ugly Sonic. Because if there is an Ugly Sonic, wouldn't there be an Ugly Tails? Remember at the end of the first movie, Tails was revealed. And right now, Tails and Sonic have the same design. Big, huge, cartoony eyes. And if you were to pair this Tails with Ugly Sonic, it doesn't go. Therefore, there should be an Ugly Tails image around there. And it's not this guy who looks like he's cracked out and hasn't slept in 7 days. Therefore, I believe Ugly Sonic was a marketing tactic to get the whole world to pay attention to the Sonic movie. Then you give us what Sonic should look like and does look like, and everybody's happy and everybody's excited and everybody wants to go see your movie because you fixed the problem that us as the internet fixed. We were involved in fixing Sonic. Yay us. I believe it was all bullshit from the beginning. That is where we started. And where we are now is in a very fun place for everybody interested in Sonic. I was going to say Sonic fans, but again, this whole series has become fun for everybody. Now, the ending of Sonic 3 teases a couple of big things. More characters introduced and another enemy threat. I think it's pretty much damn near confirmed that a fourth movie is coming regardless how this movie does, which I think this movie is going to do pretty well. But what I think this fourth movie should do is introduce even more characters from the Sonic universe while dealing with this threat that they kind of teased. You create that fourth movie having this bad guys and this stuff going on, but you bring in many more Sonic characters. Again, we're going to leave Tom and Maddie at home with the dog. They have to dog sit or whatever while these three go on their adventures, right? All while this fourth movie is going on and they deal with that immediate threat, I want to see some seeds being planted in this fourth movie for the fifth and final movie. Because at the end of the fourth movie, I would like to see the reveal of Chaos. And Chaos is going to be the big gigantic bad of your fifth and final movie, where you're going to have all the hedgehog characters you've established throughout the whole series have to come together to take this fool down for the fifth and final movies. I believe 5 whole movies is a healthy number of movies for any kind of series. It's not too many, it's not a little, and it's not too much. I feel like 5 is just the right number, especially for a series like Sonic where you could just keep having adventures. You don't want to be too much. You don't want to go overboard. I would like them to cap it at 5, put a nice beautiful bow on this whole series at the 5th and final movie, and retire Sonic and try to focus on maybe another Sega series. Maybe some old ones from the 90s that would be very, very cool and very, very fun to maybe explore. I do remember the studios mentioning something of having like an Avenger-like finale for the series, and I can't think of anything else other than just having Chaos be the bad guy and just everybody come together and do that. Let me know your thoughts on the third movie. How would you end it? What would you want for the fourth movie, fifth movie? How many movies do you want? What other Sega properties would you like to see in the big screen? Any and all thoughts regarding this topic. I would love to hear what you think down in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you like this video, drop a like. And because you made it this far, you have earned yourself a free subscription to the channel. All you have to do is click the subscribe button down there. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to always and forever, you do you.